This is the third of 6 ethics training modules for Texas educators. Module 3 will focus on student discipline and teacher anger management. The purpose of this training is to emphasize the importance of student discipline and anger management and the role they play in supportive learning environments. When we think of ethical violations, we immediately think of inappropriate teacher-student relationships. Other types of violations occur. One that we hear about, though maybe not as often as inappropriate relationships, is a teacher harming a student physically, mentally, or emotionally. As we prepare to begin our training, these are the overarching essential questions that we will conceptualize today. How does student behavior impact teacher behavior? How does teacher anger impact student achievement? Let's take a moment to review the session objectives. Today we will discuss strategies to create a supportive learning environment, identify techniques that can de-escalate confrontations, and identify techniques that disengage challenging behavior. The first bullet deals with student discipline and how we can work to create a supportive learning environment. The last 2 bullets deal with anger management and how we can de-escalate a volatile situation and avoid consequences related to ethical violations. The goal of the Educator's Code of Ethics is to protect the safety and welfare of Texas school children and school personnel. If only it were as simple as this statement. Please note that Chapter 247.1 of the Texas Administrative Code addresses the safety and welfare of Texas school children and school personnel. It all boils down to protecting those students we serve on a daily basis. Now that we have an understanding of what our training purpose and objectives are, let's get to the heart of the matter. What do you think of this statement? Teachers are role models. I'm going to read a quote about an actual situation that occurred in a classroom. His teacher had urged him all year to be more organized, but he still had trouble keeping his work area neat. The boys' papers and other materials were often scattered around, and when his classmates were ready to move on to the next activity, he lagged behind, trying to corral the clutter. On this particular day, the teacher had lost her patience. According to a district report, she chastised her student. "Your area looks like a pigsty. Piggy, piggy, oink, oink." Exactly what happened next has been difficult to pin down. But by the time another teacher entered the classroom, the boy had been surrounded by his classmates who taunted him with oinks and other pig sounds. Alone in the center, the boy was sobbing. By some accounts, his teacher, a veteran of 38 years, encouraged the children to join in the chant. She told district officials she didn't notice when they began to taunt him, although she did agree it wasn't appropriate behavior. The children themselves turned out to be somewhat unreliable witnesses. They were just kindergartners. How did this incident make you feel? Because all students see their teachers as in charge, especially younger students, victims of this type of harsh behavior who do not have any power to change what is happening to them are at risk of experiencing anxiety, fear, low self-esteem, low attendance, and decreased student performance. Educators must put an end to any verbal or physical abuse that they witness or suspect is happening. Unfortunately, teachers sometimes make mistakes and demonstrate bad judgment in disciplining their students. Training can help teachers know how to respond appropriately in difficult situations. It is our responsibility to report what we know when the actions of a colleague are inappropriate. We cannot simply look the other way as if it never happened. Our students depend on us not only to educate them, but also to look out for their well-being. There's good news and bad news. The good news is that the majority of teachers are positive role models and transformational figures in the lives of their students. The bad news is that the handful of teachers who do harm students not only damage their students, but also our profession. Unfortunately, the abusive behavior that some educators exhibit toward both students and colleagues crosses a line that can never be excused or tolerated. Compassionate teachers transform lives. Since the beginning of time, teachers have transformed lives through the relationships they build with students. Without a doubt, strong relationships build strong academic performance. So how do teachers create a supportive learning environment? The Texas Education Code clearly states that every district in the state of Texas must adopt and implement a discipline management program. This is a requirement for the district. But what about the campus and the classroom? How can we create a supportive learning environment for our students in every classroom? The next few slides introduce 3 very important strategies to create a supportive learning environment. Before we talk about student discipline and teacher anger, we need to establish that the cornerstone for every classroom is a strong plan that defines parameters of what is acceptable and what is unacceptable. It may seem like a pretty simple statement, but the impact of not having clearly defined parameters of acceptable behavior is significant. A huge takeaway from this training is the importance of having a clear behavioral management plan for your classroom. Students should know exactly what your expectations are and what the consequences are for not following those expectations. There are several practices that a teacher can use to prevent an out-of-control situation. It is critical for every classroom to have a clear discipline plan that is supported by and aligned with the campus and district discipline plan. Being proactive helps prevent you from being reactive. Using classroom behavior management strategies can help you avoid facing power struggles with disruptive students. This can make all the difference in the world. A classroom without a management plan that is followed with fidelity can at any moment implode and create a volatile and life-changing situation. Having a plan will not guarantee a non-disruptive classroom, but it will decrease the chances tremendously. It's very easy to lose control of your authority in a classroom if there are no identified expectations.
Let's look at this question. If having a classroom management plan is first and foremost, what is the second most important aspect in creating a supportive learning environment? Typical responses may be instruction, the lesson, or engaging the classroom. The following important questions should be considered. Is my lesson authentically engaging? Is my lesson well planned and relevant? Does my lesson connect to real-life experiences? Is my lesson content appropriate and challenging? When teachers do not plan for the daily instruction, it leaves room for misbehavior. To recap, here are 2 important questions to ask yourself. Do I have a structured classroom management plan? Are my lessons engaging for my students? Again, this will not guarantee that there will not be major disruptions, but it can certainly decrease the chances. Being a role model can be a difficult task, but it is an important responsibility. Our students observe our actions and listen to what we say and how we speak. Teachers are role models for their students all day, every day. Creating a positive environment where students feel safe and helping them develop behavioral skills they will use the rest of their lives is an important component of a successful learning environment. As a reminder, 3 critical components of curbing challenging behavior are implementing a management plan, creating authentic student engagement activities, and modeling positive behavior. Which strategy, in your opinion, is the most difficult to implement? Which strategy is the one that's missing from many classrooms? Losing personal control of our words or actions can have a devastating effect on others and on ourselves. This video was recorded by a student in the classroom. The smiley face in the video was added by the student. The video clip was confiscated as evidence by the school district and the police. It was then requested by the media to use in their news stories.
The video of Ozan teacher Mary Hastings hitting a student is spreading on the internet.
But she's stopping them from graduating.
Students recorded the video, which they then posted on social media. That's how administrators found out about the incident, which happened at the high school shortly before 11 this morning.
I don't want this to ruin our life. I really don't.
This student at the high school who wanted to remain anonymous, decided to speak up for the veteran teacher who's been teaching math at BISD the past 3 years.
We only see 12 seconds of it. That's all it is. It's not the whole thing.
Those few seconds of video led to Beaumont ISD police arresting Hastings. They took her to the Jefferson County Jail, where she was charged with assault.
They always throw stuff at her. They always curse her out.
The student says Hastings is a great teacher, always patient, always helping out. She says she and other students and staff at the school were shocked to see Hastings apparently losing her patience.
They were saying that, that's not like her. They were upset too that she had done it, of course, but it was just, everything was hurtful. She had to be escorted off the campus.
If convicted, Hastings could spend some time in jail. The school district is condemning Hastings' actions, and administrators have placed her on leave, pending the outcome of the investigation. The student says although she doesn't agree Hastings should have hit the student, she doesn't want it to ruin the teacher's career.
Those students, they just had a bad day, and Miss Hastings had a bad day. And that's all that was. It wasn't anything more than that.
In Beaumont, Texas, Kara Dixon reporting.
This incident was a very recent occurrence. Although we do not know what led up to the incident, the frustration and anger the teacher felt toward the student was unwarranted. Unfortunately, incidents like these happen in a split second. This happens because teachers feel the need to confront the student instead of walking away or calling for assistance. 11 seconds changed this teacher's life. The reality is that we do become angry with students who are continually disruptive and sometimes aggressive. So what do we need to do to understand and manage anger? Managing unruly behavior is one of the most difficult, frustrating, and possibly frightening aspects of being a teacher. When faced with students who are extremely disruptive, anger is usually the emotion that rises to the top. I think it would be unfair to ask anyone not to ever feel angry. It's an emotion that we have all experienced. The key word is control. Losing control creates an extremely unhealthy learning environment. Uncontrolled anger can result in verbal, mental, emotional, and/or physical abuse. Frequent or misplaced anger can hurt our reputations and others around us, destroy our relationships, limit opportunities, and negatively impact our health. The loss of control can occur quickly. Students and teachers can go from 0 to 10 in a matter of a few exchanges. It's a fine line between being in control and losing control. Let's watch a video that depicts a scenario that could happen at any school. As you watch the video, think about what the teacher could have done differently.
The role of a teacher is multifaceted. Not only do teachers serve as instructional facilitators, they must also create a classroom environment that is conducive to learning. Disruptive student behavior will interfere with student learning and the teacher's ability to teach. Clear expectations, clear consequences, fair, firm, and consistent responses are needed to create a positive learning environment. Classroom management begins with the teacher. In addition to the individual teacher's disciplinary framework, the campus should have a system in place for dealing with student behavior. This video segment highlights student discipline and teacher anger management issues.
Hey guys, let's get started. The first item on our agenda is to discuss the readiness standards that we will be focusing on during these next 2 weeks.
Yeah, like the kids are even gonna listen. Have you noticed how they're acting more and more like animals these days? Several of them are pushing me to my limit. I'm about to lose it.
Okay, Ms. Smith, I understand you're having discipline issues, but we need to stay on topic and discuss the standards.
Well, how can we even talk about teaching when the kids won't listen? I'm telling you, if I could afford it, I'd walk out of this place and never look back.
Well, haven't you been using the PBI strategies we've been trained to use this year? They've really helped me with classroom behavior.
Didn't you hear me? Nothing works. They're the absolute worst.
Okay, can we please get back to the agenda and stay focused on the readiness standards?
So boring. Okay, class, settle down. I said be quiet. Okay, so anyway,
Girls?
I went to the beach. Stop talking and put the makeup away. This is math class, not beauty school. You'd be lucky to even get into cosmetology school. Okay, class, today we're going to review the test you took yesterday. You guys did terrible. If you don't start to buckle down and do better in this class, you're going to fail it. Failures. You're all complete failures.
But Miss Smith, you tested us on information we haven't even covered. It doesn't seem fair.
Well, who said life was fair,
But how are you supposed to pass? You didn't even teach us the subject.
Don't blame me for your own inadequacies. If you guys aren't careful, you're going to grow up and become complete losers. I said, stop talking and put the makeup away. You know what? Just get out. Get out. Get out.
Stop it, you're hurting me.
Get out! You wanted to see me, Principal Watkins?
Miss Smith, please come in. I would like to talk to you about your classroom management plan. Have you been following the plan that you submitted at the beginning of the school year?
Well, sort of, but nothing seems to work.
Can you tell me what happened today in your 5th period class?
I lost it. I yelled at them. The kids were horrible. No one does anything about discipline at this school. I had 2 girls today who just wouldn't listen to me. They kept putting makeup on even when I asked them to put it away. They make me so angry.
Did you have any physical contact with any of the students?
I did touch one of them, but I didn't hurt her. I'm telling you, these kids act like animals.
Miss Smith, we have video evidence that you physically assaulted a student in your classroom today. This is a very serious violation. At this time, we are placing you on administrative leave. We have a parent who is pressing assault charges against you. We are also conducting an internal investigation of this incident.
I don't know what happened. I feel completely out of control. I know we talked about how to de-escalate a situation, but I just lost it.
Just lost it? We've stressed the importance of showing patience and respect, using appropriate language, and always refraining from physical contact to ensure incidents do not escalate to violent confrontations. We've provided training and support to address student behavior. Unfortunately, it appears it hasn't helped you. Now, I'll be in touch once the investigation is completed, but for right now, the resource officer will escort you off this campus. In Texas, there has been an increase in assault incidents in our schools. These incidents involved educators assaulting students and students assaulting educators. Student and educator safety should be a priority for every school district. Every school district and campus in the state of Texas should have an effective discipline framework. The framework should be used in every classroom. Patience, respect, appropriate language, and refraining from all physical contact are basic strategies to prevent an incident like the one portrayed in this video.
What thoughts came to mind as you watched the scenario unfold? Could this scenario happen at your school? What could the teacher have done differently? As educators, we have to practice consistent anger management techniques to effectively address challenging behavioral problems in our schools. The ultimate goal of anger management is to learn how to control your reactions when disruptive students increase your frustration and anger levels. The next several slides provide some strategies to help you remain in control during the anger cycle. When faced with a challenging student behavior situation, you could count to 20 before you respond. Manage your negative thoughts with positive thinking, and consider the facts of the situation so that you can calm your anger reactions. More than likely, you will determine that it is unproductive to respond with anger. 2 more strategies that may work for you when you feel angry include listening effectively and being assertive, not aggressive. When you become aggressive, you're only focused on winning. These strategies take practice and should become habits that we incorporate into our personal and professional lives. The more you practice, the more it will become second nature to respond with a controlled behavior. Power struggles are unfortunately common occurrences in schools. It is important to identify strategies to de-escalate and disengage challenging student behavior. What is the difference between de-escalating behavior and disengaging behavior? To de-escalate is to reduce the level of intensity. To disengage is to withdraw or to release. Let's start with how we de-escalate. The most important objective for a teacher when faced with defiant or violent behavior from a student is to remain calm and quickly assess the situation to determine if de-escalation is possible or immediate assistance is needed. Keeping the student calm is another important objective to achieve during disruptive behavioral incidents. Just like the instructional tools we need to help students learn the content we teach, we also need tools to de-escalate a volatile situation. Here are a few suggestions that may help you. Avoid questioning the student. Some teachers force students to explain their behavior. Questioning them usually escalates anger and resentment. Avoid arguing with the student. Arguing an agitated student creates a situation where he or she is on equal ground with you. This can quickly lead to an altercation between the teacher and the student. Avoid raising your voice or intimidating the student. This can make the situation worse. A power struggle can be avoided if the teacher does not choose to take part in a conflict. Avoid using phrases that can escalate the problem. You're always wrong. I will not put up with your rotten behavior. I demand that you, or that's stupid. Do not block escape passages. Show accepting body language. Never place your hands on the student. These strategies are intended to be used as an alternative method to help increase teachers' ability to respond efficiently and effectively when students exhibit varying emotional and disruptive behavioral outbursts. Remember, keep appropriate personal space, provide reassurance, and always be aware of cultural differences. An important step in averting a power struggle between a teacher and a student is to utilize disengaging tactics. These type of tactics provide a teacher with the ability to remain calm and confident in diffusing disruptive incidents. Remember what disengage means: to withdraw or to release, to stop the behavior. Disengaging tactics allow the teacher to keep his or her cool in order to manage the conflict situation in an appropriate manner. Using disengaging tactics does not mean that teachers should accept misbehavior from students without consequences for such behavior. Strategies to disengage include keeping cool under pressure to avoid a behavioral power struggle, responding to an angry or hostile student in a neutral and calm tone and keeping dialogue brief when addressing the non-compliant student, and using non-confrontational words that will not bait the student's reactions. While it is often difficult to take time to think about your reactions, it is important to offer students a way to calm down. You can do that by diverting the student's attention from the disruptive situation. You can provide the opportunity to cool down and a path for saving face. Removing the student from the classroom for a brief time may be needed. These strategies should be used when the behavior is primarily verbal, shows no signs of escalating, and does not represent a safety risk. It is important to note the type of disruptive behavior. Most importantly, ask yourself if this situation poses a safety risk to you or your students. If the student is suspected of presenting a safety risk to self or others, the teacher should call for immediate assistance. It is important to know when you need outside assistance to keep from getting hurt or having someone else get hurt in your classroom. There are consequences to all behavior. Depending on the behavior, it can result in a positive or negative consequence. When teachers lose control of their emotions or anger, there can be very serious consequences. Chapter 249.3 of the Texas Administrative Code defines abuse. Abuse includes the following acts or omissions: mental or emotional injury to a student, causing a situation in which the student sustains a mental or emotional injury, physical injury, or sexual conduct. The code not only defines abuse but also provides information on possible sanctions. In addition to these sanctions from SBEC, there is always the possibility of termination, the filing of a lawsuit, and even criminal repercussions. A recent interactive survey revealed that 82% of teachers and 77% of principals say the current legal climate has changed the way they work. The impact of our daily interactions with students are far-reaching. The following quote says it all. I've come to the frightening conclusion that I am the decisive element in the classroom. It's my personal approach that creates the climate. It's my daily mood that makes the weather. As a teacher, I possess tremendous power to make a child's life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or humor, hurt or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis will be escalated or de-escalated, and a child humanized or dehumanized. Teachers are the most influential people in the world. They can build or destroy. Never forget the influence you hold on a daily basis. Each participant is required to complete an assessment based on the information received in this training. Remember, you must receive a score of 100 to receive credit for this module training. For questions about Module 3 of the Texas Educators Ethics Training, talk to your campus principal.